What's up, fellow tycoons? It's Marquita, aka your brand building bestie, aka the Saucy Tycoon, and I'm here to help you find your vibe. So today I want to talk a little bit about how to know when it's time to quit. And it's whatever quit means for you, but specifically in this video, I'm going to be talking about how you know when it's time to quit your job. Quitting your job is something that is very much seen as taboo as it pertains to when we're talking about going after your dreams. You know, most people be like, oh, don't quit your day job. We all know of that little saying, right? So I'm just going to talk a little bit about how I knew when it was time to quit, when it was time to quit my job. Because my journey has been very interesting. It's been very enlightening, to say the least. And I just want to share my experience, so hopefully it helps the next person or anybody who is going through this current back and forth right now of just kind of not knowing if they should take that leap, or you know, they're thinking logically and they're just kind of like in a space where you just don't know, because I've experienced that. So I would say that I knew that it was time to quit my job when I heard the voice in my head tell me it was time. Like, you're gonna know. You will know when it's time to quit your job. Now, a lot of people will approach the subject with the fear-based mindset. They'll say, well, you need to have A, B, and C in order before you even quit your job. You know, there's a lot of fear-based thinking around quitting your job to pursue something that is more in alignment with who you are as a person. And me personally, I've never really so much subscribed to that, but I've just always been very good at like keeping a job, showing up to work, being the elite employee. You know, I'm a Leo, so it's like, if you know anything about Leos, we are very loyal. We can be very persistent. We tend to perform very well in jobs. We're leaders. You'll see us in a lot of leadership type positions. And so we don't really have a problem in that regard. But however, being a creative person, I would find myself hitting a wall lots of times, and then kind of honestly just really not feeling in alignment with the job or a career that I was in, because it was not fulfilling. It didn't speak to me. It didn't speak to my soul. So it started becoming more and more difficult to stay in that, to walk in that, knowing that it wasn't fully aligned with me and I wasn't happy. So at that moment when I realized that, hey, you know, this is not really what I want to do. I don't want to be a career person. I'm not a company person. I don't like authority. I don't like knowing that someone else can tell me what to do, when to do it, how to do it, asking for permission to have time off. When I was younger, I was, of course, more tolerant with that because I didn't know what I know now. As you get older and you grow and you start to see the world in a whole different perspective, things change, you know, your mindset changes. So as I'm getting older and I'm wanting to go and do things and I'm wanting to participate in things, it's like, I gotta ask permission, or I don't have vacation time, or I can't miss work because that'll be money from my paycheck. So already right there, it cultivates you or conditions you to have a mindset of lack. And I would say that's like the number one thing that will stop a person, especially a creative, from taking that leap, is having that mindset of lack. You're already telling yourself very harmful things and creating a mindset around this job. You're like conforming your life to this job instead of the other way around, when you should be conforming jobs to the lifestyle that you want to have. So if you're not a person like I wasn't always just comfortable with just, oh, I'm just quit my job because I got an idea and I want to go pursue it. I get it. Something like that, I don't think people talk about enough, how it's a process. If you are in that space and you know that you don't want to be at a job, then you start to take small steps so that you can, down the line, in a certain timetable, you can figure out what type of timetable that is for you. You can go ahead and start to transition out of working a 9 to 5. Okay, I'm never gonna recommend that someone just up and quit their job, but I have learned that it's all about the process. And it's not just your process, you writing down your process and going through the things. It's about connecting with your inner self, doing your inner work, understanding who you are as a person, understanding the things that you're gonna need to do as far as like your thinking. Your mindset is gonna be probably most of it, to be quite honest with you. We are very conditioned to pay attention or to act in the physical. Now, being wealthy, obtaining wealth, being happy, however you want to associate those things, all comes back and ties into spirituality. Spirituality and physical, they're synonymous, they go hand in hand, but we've been conditioned to solely focus on the physical. And when I kind of broke through the barrier of understanding that it's not all about working harder and doing more, and it's more about being in alignment, understanding who you are, calming your mind, you know, those are the things that you have to work on first before you can even work up to being confident and making a leap such as quitting your job. So, like I said, it's a process, okay? It's definitely a process. So I would say, remember it's a process. And it's mindset. So far we have remembering it's a process and mindset. Okay, so this is kind of just like a reminder. So we won't make that the first step. We'll just start with mindset. So remember it's a process. We start with your mindset. So your mindset, like I said, that's pretty much going to be the totality of it. What are you telling yourself every day, and what do you believe about what you're wanting to do? Are you telling yourself that you can't do it, but can't do it because? Whatever you're telling yourself up here is what is going to take precedence over like your whole mindset, and will have a huge bearing on whether or not you leave that job, or how fast you leave it, or how slow you leave it. So back to me. Once I understood that, hey, I can't do this no more, I started looking for certain types of jobs. You might want to look for certain type of jobs that you don't mind doing. And then what you want to do when you find something that you can tolerate and you can be okay at, give yourself, usually how I used to do it, I was probably for the last 6+ years, I've been an avid job hopper. So I usually will hop a job every year. Not always by intention, it just happened to pan out that way. I would just hop a job every year. And a lot of times what I felt what would happen in that year is like I learned quickly the job, I learned how to excel at it, I do it well, I get bored with it, I hit a ceiling. Sometimes there would be opportunity to grow, and then sometimes I just didn't want the opportunity to grow because, like I said, I'm very much a leader. And if I get into a leadership role with a company and then the leadership above me is incompetent or it just isn't good, then I find it extremely hard to stay there because of that. I'm a boss. I like to tell people what to do, or I just like to run things in a way that makes sense. And a lot of times, I'll be honest, like a lot of these companies, like their leadership isn't always that great, and it just makes it hard to grow and bloom and excel in those type of spaces. So But anyway, once I kind of when I find jobs I can like tolerate doing, now it's time to set in a plan to figure out, okay, what do you want to do? What are we doing? So then you're gonna find out, okay, what is it that I want to do? If you want to be an artist, in my case, I knew that I wanted to have a clothing brand. I wanted to teach people about business, brand marketing, and Web3 specifically. And so you start writing down your ideas and researching. I started watching YouTube channels. I'm like listening to people who are doing what I want to do, just kind of taking notes. And be careful, don't overwhelm yourself and don't feel like you have to accomplish all these steps like in one day. There's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna tell you the process of how they did something, and it might make you feel like you're behind. Just don't get caught up in that. Just listen and absorb and take what you can take in that moment and take what actually resonates and helps you, and start with one step at a time. That's initially what I did. I may not be able to, like, for example, my camera setup and everything I have here, this took time. I had to acquire these things gradually. So take a step every day once you figure out what it is that you want to do, and figure out, okay, what do I need to start doing in order to create this environment that cultivates and supports what I ultimately want to do. And whether that's the education and knowledge, whether that's the things, the equipment, you start where you can. You may not be able to get the best equipment. Start with what you can afford, what you can get. Just start with something and work with what you are able to get, or work with what you have. If you just have a cell phone, cell phones are very advanced nowadays. You can do a lot. There are mini computers, basically. We all know this. So a lot of people will get hung up in oh, I need this and I need that. But you don't need the best of anything. You just need your idea, and you need to find the way in which you can work with whatever it is that you have. So that's your what are we doing step. Okay, so after that, I don't really have a name for this, but it's kind of like you work 2 jobs. We'll just call it that. Work 2 jobs until, okay? Now, I had a full-time job and I had a part-time job. Well, actually, I had 3 jobs: full-time, a part-time, and a part-time. The full-time, which was the main income, then the part-time, which is everything you see here, putting this together, working on subject matter and things and ideas of that nature, and then I do DoorDash or food delivery or something on the side too. So, but generally, yeah, you're gonna be working 2 jobs. So when you work your full time, then schedule out and carve out time to work on what you actually truly want to be doing. And then as time goes on, as time went on through my journey, I did this probably for about 2 or 3 years. And like I said, it goes back to remembering that this is a process. I feel like within the last year or 2, it's actually easier to move from mindset to what are we doing, work your 2 jobs until you can quit. From here to quitting, I think you can actually get there faster with the ways in which we have more technology now and information available to us. You can probably go from mindset to idea and your whole process to quitting probably within like 3 months if you wanted to. It really depends on, it goes back to what I was saying, your mindset. What are you telling yourself about what you can do and how you can do it and when you can do it and if you're worthy of doing it and all those things. So in my case, I believe it just took me longer, or maybe it didn't take me long. Maybe that's just the way that I'm perceiving it. But it seems to have taken long. But in these last few months since I quit my job, which was almost a month ago, things have been just moving so quickly and smooth. But the process is what you're gonna wanna, what's the word I'm looking for? The process is what you're gonna wanna appreciate, because the process, the time that it seems like it's taking forever and you're in that job and you're like, I could be doing something that I really wanna do, but that time where you're frustrated and you're irritated and you're trying to figure out like what to do, once you finally get to the work 2 jobs until you quit, that process rather is laying the foundation so that when you actually quit, things actually start picking up, and you'll see that things will be in alignment as you go. So don't discount this process. I'm telling you, the process is the process is the process, okay? Just go through your process. And when it's time for you to quit your job, you will know. But start working on your mindset. I listen to a lot of mind empowerment content. This is content that focuses on deconstructing the programming that basically conditions you to think against yourself, your negative thoughts processes and your harmful thought processes. Teaching you how to think properly so you can cultivate a mental environment, a mindset that's going to help you get through these next steps and get to this ultimate goal, which is quitting your job. But this process, the length of the process is going to vary for everybody. As you know, we live a life full of distractions. You know, finances come into play. Family situations come into play. Some people have kids. I don't have kids. I'm single. I have 2 cats. So the process is going to look different as far as length for everybody. It's going to look different. Some people may start their process today, and 30 days from now, you are doing what you actually want to be doing. But anyway, I don't want to get too long-winded. I hope that my explanation of me going through my process to quitting my job has been helpful to you all. I just wanted to speak on this because, especially now, I'm coming across a lot of discourse of people sharing their experiences of having had quit their jobs recently. And right before I quit mine, I was coming across a lot of people. So when you know it's time to quit, you will know. You will inherently know, and you may not necessarily have all your ducks in a row, but you will have an intuitive, inherent knowing that you will ultimately trust, know without disregard. Like, you will know. You won't doubt it. You might still have like a little bit of fear because it's gonna allow you to trust what you're feeling. We're taught and conditioned not to trust our decisions and what our capabilities as, you know, as creative beings. So you will talk yourself out of quitting your job for a while, because I did. I was hearing the call to my purpose and I ignored it as long as I could until ultimately I knew that I was gonna have to quit. And you will start to see, it will start to manifest and present itself in your waking life. If you're doing the things, if you're doing your mindset, if you figured out what you want to do and what are you going to be doing, and you're working your 2 jobs until, if you're executing these and being consistent with these, then what that does, I believe, in my own words, I'll put it like this: it starts to send a signal to the universe, God, however you want to, whatever word you want to use for that higher power. It's going to start to send a message to that source, and it's going to pick it up and recognize it. And what it's ultimately going to do is start to reflect. Sorry about that, upstairs neighbors. It's going to start reflecting and manifesting in your waking life. It's like, oh, you're ready for this shift. You're ready for this change. Let's start supporting you. When you got it up here mentally and you're following through, doing the things, you're doing things like taking inspired action, which means you're getting that excitement and you're actually able to receive and pick up, they call it coincidences. which is there's no coincidences. When you're in your flow, when you find your vibe, you find your vibe. That's why I say find your vibe. When you find your vibe, it's a go, okay? So inherently you will know, you won't have any doubts, you won't try to talk yourself out of it. You will have a little bit of anxiety, maybe fear, but compared to your overall knowing, it's going to be extremely small. You're going to ultimately, what you should be doing is your mindset is going to help you get through those last residual feelings of, okay, damn, I'm about to do something crazy, or this doesn't make sense, it's not logical. You don't quit your job. You definitely don't quit your job without a backup plan. All of these things that you have going on in your head, your mindset is going to be strong. Once you get to this part and you've been doing your work, your 2 jobs for however long you need to, like I said, it's going to look different for everybody. Your mindset is going to be on 10. So when you finally get to when the universe comes start knocking like, hey, okay, we hear you. You ready to elevate. You got to get rid of this job though, because you definitely not going to be able to do what you're trying to do with the job. And you're going to be like, oh shit, but I can't. You're still going to try to your old self is still going to try to reason and be like, well, the right thing to do, the responsible thing to do, the adult things to do. There's no rules, people. This is another thing to understand too. There are no rules. They've been giving us rules our whole life. What have those rules actually done for us? But keep us in poverty, but keep us stressed, but keep us our bodies aching, doubting ourselves. You have to be a little bit crazy. You got to be a little bit illogical. You got to be a little bit irresponsible, okay? You got to take some risks. Risk comes with rewards, though. Just go through your process, all right? So I hope y'all have a great day. Once again, I hope this message helps someone. I'm not sure how long this video is gonna be, but if you watched it till the end, I think you're gonna, if you watch this video to the end and you took in all of this information, you're doing great. You're on your first step to quitting your job. You will quit your job. If you have questions down in the comments, leave a comment. And I could talk about this some more and go more in depth of the process, the things I was doing. But there's a lot of untapped potential at 9-to-5s right now. And the way the world is going, we need more of us out here starting businesses and creating businesses that are going to change the world. Because I don't know about you, but for me personally, I'm just so tired of the same old lackluster things that we're seeing and we're getting. The world, life should be fun. Businesses should be fun. What we create and the things that we bring future generations into should be more fun, more thoughtful, more humane, more soulful. The world is changing and I'm happy to see it changing, but my purpose, I'm being called to talk to the creatives out there who have not made the leap or wanting to make the leap, or have made the leap and they're looking for guidance and oh shit, how do I make this work? Because everything in me is saying I got this, I can do this, but what are the actual practical steps that I can take? So, and that's why your brand building bestie is here. I'm gonna get you right, okay? Find your vibe. Let's go. Let's do it, okay?